Welcome back. We're at the bottom of the hour this Sunday morning. I say it, and I say it all the time. Real estate changes people's lives to the good. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And our friend John Sturges out of Keller Williams, South Lake, you can't find a better agent. 817-832-7473. John, talking about, finding that sweet spot, pricing it right. Everything that you guys do when you sit down in front of a homeowner to try to get that sweet spot so the days on market are minimal and everybody's happy. Give some advice, more advice, to that seller so that they are successful. Somebody's out there on the market. We were talking about this at Bright. Because of the internet, people look and can look at what's out there for sale
all day long.
And if it's the first clue, there's a little days on market. You're on the market 90, 120 days, there's got to be something wrong with that house.
Yeah. And typically it could be a pricing issue or it could be condition. I mean, again, if you're not strong enough to really guide your seller down the path of righteousness, if you want to call it that, they're going to end up mired in mud, that kind of thing. And then they're going to be looking at their agent and go, well, what's going on here? 3 homes have sold in our neighborhood and we're still on the market. Yeah. And a lot of these guys are just afraid to really, have that come to the pulpit meeting type of thing, Yeah.
If it's a red flag would be if your agent's agreeing with you on everything you say, then it might be the wrong agent.
Or if your agent's not calling you on a regular basis and giving you not only feedback from showings, but telling you, okay, here's what's going on right now in the market. When we went on the market, there were these homes for sale, and here we are, 15, 21 days later, here's what's going on today. You need to keep your sellers apprised of the current conditions of the market.
Tell my listener how you do it.
We basically watch the market in and around when we do our comparable work to figure out where should this house land pricing-wise. We will watch that market for all the way going on till contract because we want to know what's changed. Has somebody come on the market that makes us look, that we make them look better, that kind of thing. Because if you're doing that, if you're not paying attention, if you're asleep at the wheel, all these other homes are going to be getting contracts, and you're going to be sitting there, and the buyer's going to be passing you right by.
Sure.
Because you have made the correct adjustments.
Is there different strategies in listing a home? For example, I'm selling a home. I get John to come list it, and I go, John, man, I know that the houses are selling at X in this neighborhood, and I really don't want to put the money into it to sell it.
Right.
I will drop my price.
Right.
And then at that point, you go off of square footage. It's up to the new buyer to update it. Are there different strategies in selling a home?
Everything is a unique case. No two are the same, really, when you come right down to it. Everybody brings a little bit something different to the table. But when it comes down to people that say, well, I can't afford to update, or I don't want to update, or I'm scared that if I do update, I won't do it correctly. Like I'll pick the wrong color for granite, or I'll pick the wrong carpet,
Or the wrong contractor.
Or the wrong contractor. Yeah. So, yes, there are different strategies, but really there's so many different strategies you can employ. But the main one is you try to impress upon your sellers, who's selling against you, what your competition looks like. Yeah. And a lot of times I'll even take them to the houses and show them these houses. Yeah. I said, if a buyer's going to come by and look at your house in this price range, they're also going to look at these 2 or 3. Let's go take a look at them so you can see the experience the buyer's going to have walking into those homes versus walking into yours. Yeah. And sometimes that has a huge impact on people. Like, oh my gosh, you're right. I got to put granite in, or I got to paint that room or something. Which I said, paint the room. That's one of the easiest fixes. I don't let those ever get in the way. It's like, don't worry about it. Someone can paint a room for $100 or less. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Do you ever give advice to the sellers about? I've seen this happen all the time. Hey, we got a showing on your house, and then they're there. And they start selling to the buyer, right? It happens. So the advice that, I don't know if you agree with me, when you have a showing, leave the home.
Absolutely. And I tell everybody that. If you have a showing, be out of the house.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you're having conversations with an agent or with a buyer sidebar that I'm not part of, then I'm going to hear, they said this, and I'm like, and they're like, well, I never said that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now we got a real problem here, that kind of thing. So we always try to discourage any conversation or any contact with the seller or between sellers and buyers.
What can a seller expect in this market in terms of, I priced right, I'm updated right, all right, somebody wants to come, do they get an hour? What do they get? How much time do they get before they got to?
Gosh.
Do they have to have a bug out bag, or what do they do?
Yeah, I mean, there are different ways to set up showings. Some sellers want to be what's called appointment required, where they have to green light through CSS. They have to actually say, yes, it's okay to show the house. Other ones are like, just give me a courtesy call, give me 30 minutes notice, and I'll be out of the house, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But we try to keep the windows around an hour, that kind of thing, because when you're scheduling homes, if you're smart about it, if you've got GPS, you can figure out how long I'm probably going to be at this house, then it's going to take me 10 minutes to get to this house. So you can budget your time accordingly. Now, does it always work perfectly? No. But you certainly don't need to block a 2-hour window out and kick the seller out of the house for 2 hours.
Sure. Common sense is not so common anymore.
No.
And give me a little advice, my listener advice, when they list with you. By the way, you can reach him at 817-832-7473. You don't leave valuables out.
Right.
You put your dog up.
Yep.
Right. You can't have Fido running around chewing new buyer's leg off.
Or just barking or just wanting attention when you're trying to show a house, that kind of thing.
So give me some little tidbits on to the seller of what you advise them to do. Obviously, decluttering is one of them.
Yeah, we do all that prior to even going on the market. We make sure the house is as show ready as humanly possible, based on what we can accomplish with the seller. Again, we're not trying to disrupt their lives, but we're trying to help them get themselves to a position where this is the best we can achieve today.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when we have showings, we always say, okay, when you have showings, always turn on all the lights in your house, raise all the blinds. We want as much light coming in as possible into the house. We want to encourage a bright, light environment, happy environment. If it's dark, people are like, oh, it's real dark in here. Yeah. And when you have wood floors and paneling, I mean, the room gets really dark and it feels really small too. So we try to use these psychological effects of light and stuff like that to make it a more pleasurable experience, a positive experience, if you will.
Does it still come down to sight, sound, and smell?
Yeah.
So you don't leave Jimi Hendrix cranked up in there.
No, you want to put on a little soft music. That's great. Like I said, turn on the lights. If there's pet smells in there, we got to talk about. So do I. I don't encourage it for listing agents or sellers. Yeah, but and then if there's really strong pet odors, that's something we have to address because some people are very sensitive. I even tell people, don't put out any potpourri or anything like that because there are people that are very, very sensitive to that stuff. I've had people literally take 2 steps in the door and say, I can't go in this house because there's some kind of odor or something that's bothering them. I'm like, I don't get it, but they do.
Yeah, the thing that I've always seen that helps a house so much, I'm kind of retracting, but carpet is not that expensive.
Nah.
The worst thing in the world to go into a house and see a trail going from the living room to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so, it's common sense things that puts you back in the game. You take a 2,500 square foot home that you've been living in for 15 years. It's just like you look at yourself in the mirror every day and you don't notice the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? You don't notice the difference in your house. Yeah. And there's things you can do in it. Common sense.
You can't really hurt yourself, from a carpet standpoint or even paint if you just go for a neutral color. Yeah. Okay. Buyers are not going to reject that. They're going to reject something that's pink or blue or something like that if it's carpet. But if you just go something neutral, and you don't have to go super high end, but I encourage them not to go cheap either. That kind of thing. But that really, the flooring when you walk in, that's what you're looking at a lot. You're seeing the most of flooring. It's just everywhere you're going. Obviously, there's a floor.
It's so hard, and I've found this, John, to be helpful. There's this thing called Pinterest.
Yeah,
and they do homes and color schemes and everything. You would be amazed how people struggle with the vision of their house. Right. Did I say that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We recently had a listing where it was built a few years back, and when it was built, a lot of wood. It was $1 million plus home, beautiful, gorgeous home. Mm-hmm. But the buyers were seeing grays and whites now from the new builders. So we actually had a paint specialist come in, and they were initially reluctant to paint. But after we set them up with this paint specialist, and they came in and they gave them their advice and they showed them all kinds of difference, they painted and they were amazed at the difference. They couldn't believe it. Like, wow, I love it, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, that stuff helps. And we have stagers, people that come in and help stage the house. Because, again, you tell people you need to stage your house. They look at me like, I've got 3 heads. What are you talking about? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Staging is very important when selling a house.
Absolutely.
Because it brings the buyer to a neutral position to view themselves in there. Some of the things you have to do, to me, and I've been doing this a long time, is you walk in and you can't see pictures of the family in there because you can't emotionally, you cannot tie yourself to that. You could, but you gotta imagine it with all the stuff off the walls and stuff. Why not do that for the buyer?
Depersonalize as much as possible.
Yeah. Hey, I got to go to break, man.
All right.
My friend John Sturges, Keller Williams, South Lake, the great Keller Williams. You can reach out to him directly at 817-832-7473. Again, 817-832-7473. Man, remember, real estate is good. It changes your life to the good. By listening to Real Estate Talk, we'll help you. You can go to willielandbright.com. You'll be glad you did. When we come back, we'll talk to the buyers and what you can expect in 2019. You know it, friend. We'll be back in a Willie Skosh.